It's another great weekend for sports in the Bayou region. We have college football games that count going on this weekend. The Tigers are going to get ready as they make their final preparations for Vegas. And of course, the all-important Game 3 for your New Orleans Saints goes down in the preseason at this newly renovated Caesars Superdome. A lot to talk about. We're going to cover it all in as quick and as concise as possible manner on this episode of True Bayou Sports Media Primetime. Let's hear the intro. It is prime time on the True Bayou Sports Media Network. My name is Donald. I'm your host this and every week as we get you ready for another week of coverage of Bayou region sports. If it's the New Orleans Saints, the LSU Tigers, New Orleans Pelicans, or your favorite team from across the region, from the Bayou City to the whole boot and through the Mississippi Sound, we get you ready for what's going down on the True Bayou Sports Media Network. All right, and welcome back, friends, family, and everybody else around the Bayou. This is another great weekend of Louisiana sports we have going on, and we're excited to get it started. We're going to, of course, kick things off with what's going on with your LSU Fighting Tigers. Some major announcements came out on Thursday night as the number 7 and number 18 ceremonial and, of course, honorary numbers were handed out, as this is another major step towards Brian Kelly forming his program's traditions to be suited to form his path for the boot. But what was most interesting to see is that we were designated with double numbers again. This is something that I think is a interesting tweak that Brian Kelly is embracing with the time with his tenure, it looks like, and it's something that looks like may be here to stay. So what effectively happened was Brian Kelly has designated a defensive and offensive 18 and 7, which I think is not necessarily diluting it in any way, particularly when the offensive 7 is playing with his normal offensive lineman number. Of course, that's still being Gould Campbell, but it is interesting to see that you now have Harold Perkins joining the 7 era, the great legacy of playmakers for your Tigers, and a defensive playmaker at that, rejoining, putting on that 7. Of course, we've seen the 7 worn on offense with Leonard Fournette. We've seen the 7, of course, be cemented into LSU legacy with Patrick Peterson and Tyrann Mathieu. To see Harold Perkins Jr., the most renowned player on this particular staff, this particular rendition of your LSU Tigers team, I think that it is going to be very interesting to see how he plays with that 7. Sometimes the 7 elevates players. Sometimes the 7 can leave some things to be desired. You know, we certainly saw that the last time 7 was on a defensive player with Derek Stingley, although we've seen other players like Grant Delpit, DJ Chark, whenever he wore 7, elevate their play. So we'll have a lot to be looking forward to this particular upcoming season. But the number 18s, and of course the number 18 has traditionally been more of a player-driven and program-driven number, and we've found some things out. We recently had an interview by Richard Dixon, who previously wore the 18 in 2007, I believe it was, 2008, during that national championship run. He has some things to say on a recent radio interview in the state that basically it's not as much of a 18 club deciding the 18 anymore, and it's now transitioned more towards a program deciding the 18, which I don't think that is necessarily the worst thing that could happen, but it is certainly, takes a little bit of the magic whenever that legacy of the 18s, be it Jacob Hester, be it Tre'Davious White, amongst many others that have worn the 18, are not necessarily directly involved with the picking, but it's more done in-house within Brian Kelly's particular staff. Obviously, we knew that played a major factor in the past, but now to know that it's primarily that, just pulls the curtain back a little bit on it. But who was decided to wear number 18? Who was designated with this honor? Well, it went to seniors Josh Williams, the running back, and Greg Penn, who will wear it for the defense. And those two, I think, are some honestly very quality selections. You look at particularly Josh Williams. He has the potential to be, obviously through a running back by committee, but I believe on a greater scale, he could certainly break out to be the elite back of what LSU's stable will look like this year. And Greg Penn has also a great sense of leadership, working hand in hand with Harold Perkins to further solidify the rebirth, the rising of the Phoenix, if you will, for this LSU Tigers defense that has, obviously not been the best it's ever been, but it's certainly good to see that they are making the steps needed to regain their status as a top defensive unit going through this year. And what I believe we take away primarily from these particular designations, these honors, I think that it is showing that Brian Kelly can take traditions that, unfortunately LSU's coaching staff has changed so much within its legacy championship run. It's a little bit different when it comes to building traditions compared to how some schools might have the opportunity to go, be it 10 plus or 20 plus years with a single coach. LSU has not had that luxury for the most part. So seeing how the traditions adapt through programs, through administrations, and not just, exclusively football coaching administrations, but also athletic administrations, going from Scott Woodward, Joe Oliva era, Skip Bertman era, even back when some of these things were going on with Les Miles. I think that is showing you how LSU's program transcends leadership, and it transcends whoever is the person wearing the hat, so to say. It is whoever the larger program deems it to be. It's whoever, that program moves in the direction of. And that's something certainly to see is a critical part and is still fully in effect. Some other notes real quick. We talked about it more on Keeping It True by You, LSU Tigers. You can head over and listen to that episode for some of our more in-depth camp takes. But one of the main things is that you're starting to have just a touch of injuries going on with some of the players that are going to have to play some major time in Vegas, be that Sage Ryan, as a few others that are also not necessarily injured, but tweaked to a point to where you're going to have to watch them closer than you normally would whenever game time comes on September 1st. Of course, we here at True by You Sports Media will be providing you coverage from Las Vegas. We're very excited to be doing this, as it's our first year, and we're going out to make sure that you have the best opportunity to hear about your LSU Tigers. So do make sure to be sharing the program and let everybody know that you saw us out there in Vegas. But with that being said, you take a look more at where the program is right now. Is it ready to go out and play a team like USC? Is it ready to go out there and contend when the lights come on and it's just you? You got all the college football you soaked up from the day before, going back all the way through the Thursday. Will I have any money left in Vegas? Who knows? That's the best part about all of this. But what is critical there is that you have what Brian Kelly is trying to build out for the first time. And I think it's a defense that is built off of his own image, bringing back Blake Baker, bringing back Corey Raymond, and all the other defensive staffs members that you've seen come in over this past offseason really shows that Brian Kelly is committed to having his players be put under his coaches. Now, will the implementation of this be flawless? I couldn't tell you. I certainly hope that we see something that looks a lot more flawless than what we've seen in the past 2 years. As I talked about on Keeping It True by You, LSU, I didn't really find that last year you got off on the right foot, and then things slowly degraded with the year. Now, obviously, maybe the defense got a little better. Maybe a few stops against Missouri made it look good, but it never truly got back on track where it was supposed to be whenever we looked at reports from camp this time last year. Needless to say, I'm excited to see where things go, starting, of course, with that game in Las Vegas. As we transition here, let's take a look at our New Orleans Saints. We're not going to go fully into the preview yet, but I do want to take a look real quick about what's going on within the organization, just to give you some ideas about what sort of went on this week at training camp, as you now are in the modified session of training camp. Everyone's back in New Orleans. You've left California, and you played your open practice at Tulane, which was one of the nice things to see. Getting to go into Ullman, it is the 10th anniversary of Ullman Stadium, so to see the Saints go out there, put on an open practice for the fans was very fun to see. But this kicking battle is what came out of as one of the major discussion points, which obviously I don't think a lot of us were predicting it to be. Myself personally, I still think Blake Grupe has it in the bag, so to say, but I don't know, because you have somebody kicking 65-yard kicks. It looks very nice in practice, but what we're hearing is that it's still not quite NFL level consistency from under 50. So much of NFL kicking is based upon the ability to be able to be nearly flawless when you should be nearly flawless. Long kicks are certainly nice. You, of course, have some long kick legends like a Sebastian Janikowski that come to mind, but necessarily are they the best kickers ever? No, you think of somebody like a Justin Tucker. You think of course, Adam Vinatieri and these other legacy 90-plus inside the 50 guys. That's why I tell people oftentimes, Blake Grupe, I'll give you what you have to say about Blake Grupe. When it comes to long distance kicks, I think he still has some ability to gain there. I don't know if Blake Grupe is ever going to go out and kick 65-yarders with no sweat on his brow. I think he's maybe somebody who's better suited for inside of 60. But particularly when I saw last year him as a rookie, as somebody so young, so new to the league, to the pressures, go out there and achieve great success off of these 50-yard kicks, off of just going out there and doing what he knows what to do best. I don't think that you necessarily have a truly open kickers competition here. But where you do have competition, of course, is still at QB2. So I'm going to save that for the end of the episode, because that's part of what we're talking about when it comes to who's going to make the cut, who's not, and everything else that goes on with preseason game 3 in the newly renovated Caesars Superdome. We'll, of course, touch on that too. Now, we're still talking a little bit of college football. We're still getting a little bit of that, itch starting to come back. We're starting to feel like maybe I can make a gumbo this week. Maybe I do need to open my windows just a crack. Don't do it. It's still 100 degrees outside. Save yourself. Save the humidity. The mosquitoes will come get you. But what won't come get you this weekend is the lack of Louisiana-based college football, as McNeese gets the designation to open it up for us this year, and they'll be doing it on national television on ESPN2. So that will be an opportunity, I think, to see a very fun game, a very competitive game. But I do have some information. Tarleton State is number 21. Now, we talk about this in more depth on Keeping It True by You in Louisiana. That's where you're going to go and get all your FCS, your FBS news that isn't, our Power 2 team in LSU. If it's, Tulane, ULL, La Tech, Southeastern even, and any of the teams across the boot, across the Bayou region, that's where you're going to go get that news. McNeese is facing number 21 in the country when it comes to FCS rankings. Tarleton is no joke. Tarleton is very good, and they're on a warpath to become a major college football player as fast as humanly possible. Playing out of the WAC, they certainly are taking a unique path to get there, but they don't seem to care, and they're throwing money at their program the best way that they know how to. So to see McNeese go into this environment with a coach that is trying to still get his system fully implemented and use his players to the best of his ability, I think it'll be interesting to see what happens there. I think it'll be interesting to see if the Cowboys can hold the Texans at bay and keep it a competitive game. Ultimately, I do not see them winning. There is no current published line to reference as far as what a spread might be, but I'm predicting somewhere in the ballpark of maybe 10 to 17 points as the Cowboys just maybe fall away late and not quite able to keep up. But if you do, and this is how we ended Keeping It True by You in Louisiana, if you can go out and steal a top 25 win on national TV, that propels your conversation around your program, that propels what you're doing down there in Lake Charles, and it gives people, particularly in the fan base, a lot of hope for what's to come. So we're certainly going to be keeping an eye on what goes down in the Tarleton State McNeese game as things get kicked off. But, of course, as we loop back around to your New Orleans Saints finishing out the preseason here, this is where people's careers take turns. This is where people get to cement legacies, get to secure contracts, and get to fill out dreams, to be able to make the cut for some time. For some people is the best that you ever get in the league. Just to be able to say I was on the active roster, I was able to, be suited up for game day. I think that is something that we have to acknowledge for a lot of these players is going to be a major achievement. As much as we talk so much about starters, we talk so much about the highest paid players, it's the players that are, there and they're getting a shot to make a team. That's major, and that's certainly something that is a story that deserves to be talked about. But what will also be talked about is how the Saints select quarterback number 2. Derek Carr is behind a continually injured offensive line. He's behind an offensive line that, frankly, while we saw some improvements in the San Francisco game, still has a ways to go as far as pass protection implementation. We can certainly hope maybe they just weren't showing their best, but from what we were able to see in San Francisco, there's a ways to go there for that offensive line to be able to keep Derek Carr safe for a full 17-game season, much less if the NFL actually does in short order expand 18. But that would, of course, be down the road. But 17 for this season, just so that way there's no confusion with the new kickoff rule and everything else you're looking at. And, of course, the new, fresh, renovated Caesars Superdome. That's going to be so fun for fans to get to go out there, get to take a look at what's been going on. I'll be preparing for the Vegas trip, so I will be giving you a recap of the Saints before I head out, as well as new information on the Tigers. Quarterback number 2. Spencer Rattler, Jake Haener. We've seen a lot this preseason. We've seen a lot both in camp. We've seen a lot on the field. With what we were able to find out about some of the things that went on during practice, such as Spencer Rattler throwing up a pick, I think Haener's stats in the last game certainly spoke to a certain level of maybe readiness in the system, maybe readiness to go if you need somebody to finish a game. I'm still torn on this one. Part of me says, you have a talent in Rattler. You have a talent who needs to be able to be understood better, to be able to be explored, to see if he's viable as a starter. But there's still a part of me, and I hate to be this way because we like to keep the good vibes. It's in the logo and everything. I don't know if you need to see more of Jake Haener to know what he is in this league. I don't know if he can show us anything in this preseason game that says that's somebody who I want to be contending for starting roles. And there's no disrespect in that, by the way. I just think that there are certain players that are better suited in bench roles. There are certain players that are better suited in mentorship roles. And right now, Jake Haener has an aggressive arm. He has a very sharp IQ. He's throwing the ball respectably, but there are certain things as far as skill execution that left me wanting a bit more in that San Francisco game. As we discussed it on Keeping It True by You Saints, the overthrows were noticeable. And amongst that, it's just general passing control that I find Jake Haener is just maybe not at that NFL level yet, being able to truly harness what goes on in the field in the timing you need to be able to do that. Now, to be fair with you, do I think that Spencer Rattler is that much of an improvement at this time? No. But are there maybe some slightly better intangibles there? That's where the discussion really heats up, and I think it's something that fans are going to be looking out for in this game in the Superdome. I don't think there's much expectation to see maybe Derek Carr go more than 1 or 2 series at most. This is most likely going to be a position battle to see who makes the cut, who does not. We'll have to see how that all ends up shaking out, though, because this could easily, for the quarterback 2 race, be one of the major factors. I think Dennis Allen probably has it in his mind already who it's going to be, but we won't get to know that, so we're going to have to rely on what we see visually, be it at camp, be it in practice, or be it in the Superdome playing in preseason game 3 against Tennessee. That one's a nice one. That's going to be a day game, so, pretty much a regular Saints game if you're normally going out there to the Dome. Enjoy yourself. Enjoy the new building. And for those of you who don't normally get to go, tickets are cheap, y'all. So go enjoy that new Dome. It's a good time to be able to take the family out and just have a nice day out at the Saints game. Preseason parking, man. Still a bummer. Got to fix that. Got to fix the parking. Once we get that done, the building's great for another 50 years. And what we hope you're good with for another 50 years is getting to conversate with us on True Bayou Sports Media Primetime, getting to talk about the latest in Bayou Region sports, what all we have coming up, what's going down, and lots to be on the lookout for. Like I said, we will be providing coverage from Las Vegas for the Las Vegas Kickoff, now sponsored by Modelo. Yes, it is Modelo time. This is not sponsored here, but I'm glad that the Raiders, Allegiant Stadium, and all the organizers are now going to get to have everybody enjoying Modelo time. Before that, though, of course, it is important that I once again ask you, as we are a new channel, to show your support. If you've made it this far in the video, we know that you've at least enjoyed something that I've said, or you really don't like listening to me to a point to where you have to do it. Nevertheless, I'm appreciative of your like, subscription, and follow wherever you're watching just as much. And with that, we leave on the note of how Game 3 will go for your New Orleans Saints. Honestly, I think that Tennessee is a team that has just a bit more pieces on the 2s and 3s, as well as generally with an intensity on the quarterbacks to play at a higher level. Sometimes you get the mistakes that come with that. I think maybe Tennessee's able to keep it competitive, but if the Saints won, it would not surprise me. I think that the fans are going to play a major role in all of that. And honestly, I'm just glad that we are now able to wrap up preseason football. We're able to get ready, take your drafts for your fantasy football teams if you're enjoying, and just get ready to get into regular season play for both college and the NFL. It's going to be an exciting weekend of sports, and we're excited that you decided to get it kicked off with us here at True Bayou Sports Media Primetime. Once again, my name was Donald. I've been your host, and I'm looking forward to looking at this sports weekend with you all. We'll be back with more episodes of Keeping It True Bayou in the meantime. Everybody have a great weekend. This has been a True Bayou Media production. This show is for entertainment purposes only and does not render legal or financial advice. Remember to bet responsibly. Distribution of this podcast is prohibited without the express written consent of True Bayou Media or its subsidiaries. Thanks for being true by us. We can't wait until next time we keep it true by you.